Welcome to the Ramada Hotel in New York City as Sporstchannel presents Friday Night at the Fights. And 20-1 into tonight's battle against the veteran David Taylor. Good evening. Welcome to New York City. Spencer Ross along with Teddy Atlas, welterweights indeed, and a fine up-and-coming youngster in Larry Barnes, who takes a very enviable record in this fight. Teddy, how important and how significant is this fight for him?
Like all fights, Spencer, it's very important. First of all, he has to keep winning. And he wants to show the people on television, the right people, that he's more than just a built-up fighter. He wants to have an impressive win here and show that he's a guy that was more than well-managed. So it's an important fight for him.
Okay, and his opponent has a record of 20-15. A little deceiving, though, because he's been beaten by some very good people. So this is not a gimme tonight, is it?
No, it's not at all. He's an experienced guy. In my opinion, this is a step up in a grade of opponent for Barnes. Despite his record. The last time Barnes fought an experienced guy like this was Sal Mamby, and he lost that fight. Yeah, so this should be a good fight.
Sal Mamby, of course, a former world champion. The co-feature night, we also have welterweights going at it, and one of them is a rated contender.
Yeah, Stephan Johnson has an IBF number 10 rating going into this fight. He has to keep winning. He's a guy who's very game. He's a guy who's been in training camp with the Meldrick Taylors and with the Simon Browns. He's a guy that obviously has to, again, have a good showing against a guy who's been off a long time. So if he doesn't have a real impressive showing, they're going to say, well, this guy was off a long time. How come Stephan's rated number 10?
Okay, Stephan Johnson will be up against that guy who's been off a long time, Victor Acosta, who has just returned to the boxing wars. This is just his second fight in the last 4 years. We'll get back with tonight's co-feature, Stephan Johnson against Victor Acosta at Sporstchannel. From Brooklyn, New York, up against Victor Acosta, who hails from the Bronx, and Acosta, 30 years of age. New York State. And the rules look like this. The 10-point must-scoring system. Randy Gordon, though, has kind of implored the judges to change things around a little. More 10-8 rounds if possible. 3 knockdown rules, standing 8 count. You cannot be saved by ballot in any round, not even the final round. And the doctor, of course, can stop the fight. So we're set for this co-feature, a pair of welterweights. Stephan Johnson, 15-3-1, up against Victor Acosta, who is fighting in his 37th professional fight. We're waiting for the fighters to come into the ring, and when they do, Ed Darian, standing by, will introduce the contestants. Acosta is a southpaw, which of course could cause some problems for Stephan Johnson.
Yeah, Acosta's a guy that he was off for 4 years. He came back just a month ago for the fight with Larry Barnes.
And let's go up into the ring now to Ed Darian.
Carrie Alex and Ron Scott Stevens of the legendary Stillman's Gym proudly present this evening's big professional boxing card, and is approved by the New York State Athletic Commission, the Honorable Randy Gordon, Chairman. The physicians in attendance at ringside this evening, Dr. Rufus Sadler and Dr. Daniel Hamner. The judges, Johnny Colon, George DeGabriel, and Harold Letterman. The timekeeper de bell is Cecilio Tito Pedraja. Counting for the knockdown seconds, alternate referee Arthur Mercanti Jr. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round welterweight bout, referee Samuel Vuruet. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First, in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the black trim. He weighed in at an even 150 pounds. This fella has 18 wins, 16 losses, 2 draws with 7 knockouts. A native of Carolina, Puerto Rico, and now residing in the Bronx, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome sweet Victor Acosta. Acosta and his opponent in the red corner, wearing the solid black trunks. He tipped in at an even 149 pounds. Professionally, he has 15 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw with 10 knockouts. From Brooklyn, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Stephan Johnson. Johnson.
Okay, man, I gave you your instructions in the corners. I want to remind you that I want a clean fight. New York State Athletic Commission rules control. Any questions on either side? All right, good luck. Go back. Best of luck.
Sam Virouette is the referee for this 10-rounder, pitting Stephan Johnson in the black trunks against Victor Acosta on the right of your screen in the white trunks with a black stripe. And Johnson with a record of 15-3-1, 10th ranked, up against the lefty Victor Acosta. Acosta, good defensive fighter, isn't he, Teddy?
Yeah, he is. He's a guy that's been off. He was off for 5 years. He came back about a month ago and lost a 10-round decision to Larry Barnes, which isn't bad. Shows you he still has something left as far as those defensive skills to go 10 rounds with an active guy like Larry Barnes.
Yeah, we'll see Larry Barnes later this evening in our feature fight of the evening. Johnson, not a big puncher, and he can be hit.
That's one of his weak points. He's a guy that sometimes tends to forget about defense, but he's a guy that's always in real good shape. He's very game, he's very tough, and he puts punches together well. You better be in shape when you fight Johnson. Acosta, before the layoff, he fought guys like an 85. He went 8 rounds with an up-and-coming Meldrick Taylor, who later on, of course, became the welterweight champ, which he is now. He was a guy that could be in there with almost anybody because he was slick. He was smart. He knew how to survive. Not a big puncher, but a craftsman, a crafty guy. Now that he's come back, he's also added some weight. Back when he was active before his 5-year layoff, he used to fight at junior welterweight. Now he's back at welterweight.
Full-fledged welterweight at 150 pounds from Carolina, Puerto Rico.
When he fought Meldrick Taylor, who of course is the world champion now, like I said, it was a very competitive fight on network television.
Good right hand right there by Stephan Johnson.
Yeah, Stephan hurt him a little bit.
And Acosta covering up. Trying to weather an early storm here in the first round. Good left uppercut, and that could be it.
He never saw the
That
punch.
will be it. Let us see. That's it. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. A good left hand by Stephan Johnson, and Victor Acosta taken down in the first round.
I'll tell you, that's a bit of a surprise. Even though Acosta was off for 5 years, he was always a slick guy. He was a guy that usually didn't get taken out that early. And going 10 rounds his last fight with Barnes, you would think that he'd be in there a little longer.
That was very, very unexpected. See Al Gavin giving Johnson a little pat in the face right there.
What I think happened, he got caught a blind punch, a punch he never saw. In close, and he got caught a short punch that he never saw.
You kind of figured these two to go through a feeling out period of a round or two, testing each other. Two good defensive fighters, two fighters who are not the strongest of punchers, but it became that big left hand right there, and it was over very quickly.
They're in close. It's a right uppercut. He never saw the punch.
And they're left.
From the angle the uppercut came, Acosta never made eye contact with that punch because of the angle it came from. He was looking up top and it came from underneath.
And Stephan Johnson with a first round knockout. Very, very quick indeed. His 11th knockout amongst his 16 victories. He had a pretty good fight against Ray Jones, who was a silver medalist in Korea. Lost him in an 8-round decision, but a winner tonight. Here's Ed Darian.
Time of this bout, 2 minutes and 15 seconds of the first round, and a winner by a knockout, Stephan Johnson.
So Stephan Johnson comes through with an impressive victory. Didn't take long. Fortunately, Acosta is okay. 2 minutes, 15 seconds of the opening round. And our co-feature is over very, very rapidly as Stephan Johnson is the winner. And we'll get back with Stephan Johnson right after these messages as Sports Channel continues with Friday Night at the Fight. Victory by 23-year-old welterweight Stephan Johnson. And Stephan sitting right alongside us right now. Teddy and I were speaking. It seemed like you came out there, both of you, looking to feel each other out for a couple of rounds. Are you shocked at how quickly it ended?
Well, yes, I was. First of all, I'd like to take the time out to thank my Heavenly Father and the Ramada Hotel for giving me the opportunity tonight. And yeah, I was pretty shocked. You know, I wanted to come out and feel him out a little bit. I know he's a southpaw, and I've been sparring with short southpaws, and I just wanted to feel him out. And then when he went out as quick as he did, I was very surprised.
Pretty good punch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was it the right or the left? You set him up with the right. The left is what took him down. But was he going down with the right?
Well, once I saw that he was hurt, I tried to catch him with the right, the right hand a lot. And I don't know, I felt a little like I was, I didn't want to get crazy or nothing with the right hand. So I just tried to, take my time and pick my shots.
Teddy?
Stephan, I tell you, I was impressed with the fight. I'll tell you why. Acosta, at first you could have doubts about it. He was off for 5 years. Except that he came back a month ago and he went 10 rounds with the main event guy tonight, Larry Bonds, who's 20-1. And you took him out in 1 round. That impresses me. Do you think that it was because you caught him a punch you didn't see? Because from the replay, it looked like you caught him a right uppercut inside. It was perfectly placed, and he never had a chance to see it. Did you feel that you just timed it right? Yeah,
well, basically, I was trying to time all my punches. And I didn't want to throw any unnecessary punches and get wild. And what I was really trying to do was catch him with short punches on the inside, which basically was the uppercuts.
One thing that also impresses me that you've improved a lot in, and you made a liar out of me, I said you're not known as a real good puncher. Seems like you're really improving on your punching power. Is this something that you've deliberately been working on? Because I see a difference.
Well, yes, I've been trying to set my punches more and, throw from my legs, my shoulders. And, basically, I guess I'm maturing physically also.
Okay, you're ranked right now. Just where do you go from here? What's planned?
Well, I just want to stay busy and just stay busy as much as I can and, fight whoever's up there until I get to the top.
Okay, we've talked about the fact that your opponent may not have seen the punch. I know you want to see it again, and you could describe to us, sure, you'd love to see it. Describes what happened. It's going to be set up with the right.
Okay, right there, you see I clipped him with the right uppercut. And as I can see now, that's the punch that hurt him. Yeah.
And it ended a lot quicker than anybody thought.
I was trying to catch him with the short punches on the inside.
You reacted like a fighter. What I mean by that is the guy fell in, smothered you. You took the half step back, you created the opening, and you threw the right punch at the right time. Fighters to score knockouts have to throw the right punch at the right time. You threw the uppercut at the right time when he was leaning forward on you. It was probably an instinctive thing. You probably didn't even think about it.
Yeah, it was pretty much on instinct because I didn't even see notice which punch hurt him myself.
You certainly did react like a fighter, and a fighter you are, and a big victory for you tonight, and your 16th as a professional, your 11th knockout. And again, Teddy, what you were saying about the fact that not the great punch, but still a lot of knockouts you've had in your short career.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You'd like to have a few more, huh?
Well, however they want to go. If they want to, take it the hard route, to a decision, if they want to go out, it's all right with me as long as I come out the victor. Okay, well, good luck to you. Stephan Johnson, a winner tonight. First round, 2 minutes and 15 seconds as he comes through with a big knockout. And we'll get back with more as Sporstchannel continues with Friday Night at the Fights right after these messages. Welterweights will go at it in 4 rounds. In our next get-together, Jose Avila against Alton Gray. Avila from the Bronx and Alton Gray, another youngster from Catskill, New York. And Ed Darian set to introduce the combatants.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for 4 rounds, and it's in the junior welterweight division. The referee is Arthur Mercanti Jr. Introducing first in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the red trim. He weighed in at an even 140 pounds. This fella has 5 wins, 2 losses, with 1 knockout. From Catskill, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Alton Gray. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the red trunks with the white trim. He tipped in at an even 142 pounds. Professionally, he has 8 wins, 6 losses with 5 knockouts. A native of Honduras, and now residing in the Bronx, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the Bronx Bull, Jose Avila. Avila.
Good evening, gentlemen. You both know the rules of the New York State Athletic Commission. I'm here to enforce them. You are here to obey them. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Touch gloves. Good luck to the both.
Talk about good training. That gentleman in the ring, Arthur Mercanti Jr., son of the legendary referee. And this young man is a comer himself. When you talk about champion referees, you speak of the likes of Mercanti and Ruby Goldstein through the years. This young man, a lot of people think he's going to be top of the heap before long.
I agree with it. He comes from good bloodlines, but he does the job in the ring too. You can come from good bloodlines and not do the job. He's a good referee.
Avila on the left in the red trunks, and Alton Gray now on the left of your screen in the white trunks. Gray 5-2, 1 knockout. Avila has had 14 pro fights, 5 knockouts. He's won 8. He's been beaten 6 times.
Avila is a good puncher. He's a pretty good puncher. He's a hot and cold sort of a guy, and he's definitely the most experienced guy in this bout right here because he's gone 10 rounds. He's in a 4-round fight, but he's already gone 10 rounds with a decent 10-round fighter, Donnie Allison. He fought Donnie Allison twice. First time 8 rounds, had Allison down twice before losing the fight, and then went 10 rounds with him for the New York State welterweight title. So he's a guy that's definitely the more experienced of the two.
We had that fight for you right here last year here on Friday Night at the Fights. It was a good one.
It's a little unusual sometimes to find a guy that's gone 10 rounds in a 4-round fight, but that shows you that his career hasn't always been on track. That kind of indicates as being hot and cold. A guy that has to sort of fight whatever's available because he doesn't have a sparkling record and he doesn't have the privilege of choosing his spots. That's been taken away by losses. Gray, of course, like we said earlier, was found in the Green Correctional Facility. He was serving 4.5 years. Kevin Rooney was a boxing instructor up there. He worked with him there, and then when he got released, he continued training him and turned to pro. He tries to fight with the peekaboo style, Alton Gray does, with his hands high, a la Tyson, like all Kevin Rooney's fighters do. Tries to slip punches, of course, create openings.
Goes to Customato Boxing Academy, Catskill, New York, and the man who kind of invented that peekaboo style was the former heavyweight champ himself, Floyd Patterson.
Yeah, Floyd was the first one that gave it recognition, and then Jose Torres came along when he won the light heavyweight title from Willie Pastrana and gave it a little bit more recognition. And of course, Mike Tyson is the one who really made it a name that was understood, almost household name. Because Tyson got a lot more media attention than Patterson and Jose Torres, of course.
Go ahead, break.
First round of a scheduled 4-rounder.
You know, this is an example where almost the experience can work against you. What I mean by that is Avila is so patient. He's so used to longer fights, sometimes 10 rounds, 8 rounds, that he's taking his time. But you know what? It's only 4 rounds. And by taking his time, before you know it, he's going to be out of time. And he could get out hustled by Gray.
With a scheduled 4-rounder. Avila in the red trunks, Gray in the white. When you're as experienced a fighter as Avila is, as you were mentioning in the first round, sometimes it can be a detriment because your opponent doesn't do the kind of things you expect your opponent to do based on the kind of opponents you've had.
That's part of it. You're used to, when you're at a higher level, you're used to guys doing conventional things. If they do awkward things or rough things, crude things, it's not what you're used to seeing.
Oh, right through the ropes goes Avila.
Quick thinking on a couple of officials in the New York State Commission here at ringside. They saved him from falling back and possibly getting hurt.
About 3 feet from us. I don't know if we would have thought that quickly, Teddy, but they did.
But more importantly, it's a funny thing, like I said, the first round. This is where experience should be an advantage, and it could be a disadvantage if Gray out-hustles him and gets out of there before the guy can get started. Avila might need 3 or 4 rounds to get started. Gray can out-hustle him. It's almost close to an amateur fight because 4 rounds is only 1 round more. And experienced guy is deliberate, and you can use that against him in a 4-round fight. Because what he's looking for is shots, and that's a very good thing in a long fight. In a short fight, you can get out hustled that way.
Set the man up in a 10-rounder. And set him up for what you're going to do later in the fight. In a 4-rounder, there's very little later. Everything comes very soon.
That's right. Just like an amateur making the transition to the pros could be used to the 3-round fights, and when he has to go 8 rounds, it can be where he's fast-paced. He's too fast-paced early, and the guys who are settled down start coming on later. He may win the early rounds, but in the later round, the guy, by being deliberate, will come on. Where he wouldn't have been successful in an amateur fight, but in a pro fight, he comes on later. He has time to think, time to plan things, and he can take advantage of an amateur who wilts out, who starts fast, who's geared for 3 rounds. They're both trying to establish jabs here. They're not real consistent with it, though.
Not very much power on the jabs on both sides.
Alton Gray has just switched southpaw. He switched back again. He's southpaw again. He almost did that time without even thinking about it. It makes you wonder if he's a converted southpaw. Because it's not like he did it deliberately. He just did it automatically, out of habit almost. He may be a converted southpaw. He countered with that jab nice. Avila missed the jab. He countered with it.
Stuck it nicely.
Actually, right now, it's a battle of jabs. That experience, Avila's going in the body. The only thing is, he's got to remember, he's only got 2 more rounds. Usually body punching pays off as the rounds go on.
In junior welterweights, the action in the 2nd round, a flurry right here by Avila in the red trunks. Some good body punch.
Yeah, that was good body work, both sides. If you notice, he rotated. He went to the right side, then he rotated right over with his shoulders to the left side. That's what you're supposed to do, work both sides, not be satisfied with just one punch if you can land 2. That's the sign of experience.
Talked about the efficiency of Arthur Mercanti Jr. And one of the ways I've always believed of figuring out how efficient a referee is how little you see of him.
Definitely.
And Arthur Mercanti knows he's not the show.
Definitely. He's got control of his ego, which is definitely part of it. And he knows that he's there just to control the bout when needed, not to be seen more than the fighters. He is a good referee. And he's got good background, just like a fighter needs good background. He refereed in the amateurs, he went the whole route. I remember him in the National Junior Olympic Tournament when Mike Tyson won his 2nd championship in Colorado. Arthur was one of the referees out there. And that was a long time ago.
That was the time when you were involved with Mike Tyson, right?
That's right, that's about
that is a long time ago.
10 years. What's that mean? Avila's got him in
started with the left, and Avila puts Gray down.
Caught him a left hook up top, and then he finished off on the body. Gray may be a little over his head now. This guy's got the experience. Like I said, he's been in there with good 10-round fighters like Donnie Allison. He knows what to do when he's got a guy hurt. He didn't get out hustled, and now that he's got him hurt, he's got a big advantage. He's going to be calm. He's not going to be like the guys where you see him over anxious and they just throw a lot of wasted punches. He's making what he throws count. That's experience. That's what you learn from fighting. Young guy you might see over anxious, throwing a lot of punches that aren't doing anything. He's looking to place his shots.
You see Gray trying to move to that southpaw style again. Can't quite make up his mind, can he?
No, he even switches while he's punching, which makes me think he's doing it reflexively, which would probably mean that he was a converted southpaw. He's not doing it out of design. He's just doing it without thinking about it, like it was an old habit. If a guy thinks about it and does it to confuse his opponent for a deliberate reason, then you say, well, it's a design play. But it looks like it's just out of habit. Right now, he's southpaw.
And all the action coming from Avila as this 3rd round begins to wind down. Knocked down by Avila, a very, very important factor in this round and possibly in the ultimate outcome of this 4-rounder. There's a left hand right here. Boom.
Top, then back down. But there it is. Left hook with the last one. It was a delayed knockdown, but he went back to the body, which is a sign of an experienced, good schooled fighter. Watch. Miss. One more. Right back. If he had stopped after the 1 or the 2, he wouldn't have gotten that effect. He wouldn't have dropped the guy. But by throwing the 3rd punch, he was able to nail him and finish off what he started with the punch on top.
And doubled up with that left hand to make it all happen.
Definitely. He tripled up, actually, which is better. Why hit the guy with 2 if you can hit him with 3?
Triple's always better than a double.
Yeah. Alton Grace has to have a good round here, a big round. Because in a 4-round fight with the knockdown, it's going to be a little hard to overcome unless you've got a big round right here.
And of course, Randy Gordon, the New York State Athletic Commissioner, has been a big proponent of imploring his judges, you do not have to have 10-8 rounds with a knockdown. And normally the 10-point must system, it's been almost an automatic. 10-9, 10-9, 10-9. There, down goes Gray, but that'll be a slip.
Yeah, you know what happened? Gray's legs got too wide, almost like he was switching southpaw again by accident without thinking about it, and Avila stepped on his foot. See how he's coming forward with that right foot into a southpaw stance? Very awkward, and it's getting him out of position, getting him off balance. He's going to leave himself open to a counter, too.
It's getting him off balance, and you know, as we were saying earlier in the fight, it's also confusing Avila also. He's not getting what he expects from his opponent.
That's true. But see how he falls forward in there with his right foot? He's southpaw right now. When he does that, he's not set to punch. So Avila has a free hand to punch. Because while he's switching legs like that, there's nothing under him to be set up top to get anything off with anything significant. We talked about earlier the experience advantage of Avila and it being sometimes maybe a disadvantage by being a little too complacent in a 4-round fight. If it was a 10-round fight, it'd be different. Well, that showed a little bit in the last round when he had Gray hurt. He was calm, took his time, which was good, but then at the end, he was almost too deliberate. He should have been a little more fiery and stayed on him a little bit more. That might be the reason we're in this round, because he was too deliberate.
Good right hand there, set him up with a jab.
He's got Gray very defensive, a little bit discouraged.
There has not been much offense from Gray.
Gray is
since
switching
that knockdown, and he's just switching back and forth unconsciously almost.
Yeah, I think he's a converted southpaw, which seemed to show that.
And that's it. Alton Gray and Jose Avila finish off their 4-rounder. Which from this vantage point, Teddy, you'd have to say Alton Gray in his corner over there did not come away with a victory in this one.
No, no doubt about it. The knockdown alone is, I mean, some of the rounds were close, but the knockdown alone made a big separation.
What do you say, my good friends? Come on, let's hear it one more time.
After the knockdown, it looked like Gray just fought sort of a survival fight.
Yeah, he was counting the seconds, wasn't he?
He wasn't thinking offense too much.
As you said, he kept changing from the right hand to the southpaw style, and it got him in trouble, and his feet kept getting in his own way.
Yeah, right there. He went forward with the right foot. He wound up getting off balance. I think he got stepped on by Avila, but he left himself in a very poor position with his footwork. He needs to work on that. You know, it could have been one of two things. Subconsciously going to southpaw because it's an old habit, or it could have been frustration. He didn't know what to do to come up with a key with this guy, with Avila. He was confused, he was discouraged, and he was floundering.
Well, let's get the official decision from Ed Durian.
Ladies and gentlemen, the scoring by points as follows. Judges George DeGabriel and Steve Weisfeld each observed 40-35, while Judge Johnny Colon, he scored it 40-36. For the winner, by unanimous decision, Jose Avila.
Well, both two judges, 10-9 round, and one came up with a 1 round of 10-8. But no doubt about the decision, no doubt about the winner. The winner is 23-year-old Jose Avila of the Bronx, a 4-round unanimous decision over Alton Gray. Friday night at the fights will continue right after this. Joseph Figueroa against Philip Lopez. The formal introductions from ring announcer Ed Durian.
Ladies and gentlemen, this next bout is scheduled for 4 rounds, and it's in the junior lightweight division. The judges, Harold Letterman, Steve Weisfeld, and George DeGabriel. The referee is Arthur Mercanti Jr. Introducing first in the blue corner, wearing the blue trunks with the gold trim. He weighed in at an even 132 pounds. This fella has 1 win and 2 losses. From the Bronx, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Joseph Trouble Figueroa. And his opponent in the red corner, wearing the solid blue trunks. He tipped in at an even 130 pounds. This young man has 1 win and no losses. From Jamaica, New York. Boxing fans, here is Philip Lopez.
Good evening, gentlemen. You both know the rules of the New York State Athletic Commission. I'm here to enforce them. You are here to obey them. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Touch gloves. Good luck to the both of you. Touch gloves.
Clear, concise, and to the point, Arthur Mercanti Jr. I'm here to enforce them. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Lopez is the lefty, the southpaw. And I guess the big question, Teddy, is can Figueroa, who has his back to us now, can he combat a lefty?
You know what? You asked $1 million question, more so than you even know. Because when I was talking to Figueroa before this fight, I said, will that bother you? He said, yes, I don't want to fight a southpaw. So therefore, he's got a worse problem than normally because he's already got it in his head that he can't deal with a southpaw. So mentally he's going in there on a bad note.
And did you see what he did just a moment ago? He turned around and started fighting southpaw himself for a second.
And he did it early.
Yeah.
It shows you that he's already got in the mind. He knew he was fighting a southpaw, and he's already frustrated. It showed that going in, he was negative. You don't want a fighter going in negative. Whatever happens during the rounds, you deal with. But going in negative, you don't want that to happen. He made it very clear to me that he was upset about having to fight a southpaw.
It's only his 4th professional fight. He's only won 1 of them, while Lopez, who hails from Brooklyn, in his 2nd fight, and he was a winner in that one. A 4-round decision over Jose Rodriguez back in May of this year.
You know, Figueroa being in the mindset possibly that we spoke about, he's showing it physically and technically. He looks a little indecisive. He looks like he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's southpaw right now. He's not sure what to do. I think Lopez should take advantage of the way he is mentally right now and be a little bit more busy, not let him get himself together. Boxing is decisions of a split second. If you take advantage at the right time, before the guy gets himself in sync, it could make a difference of an easy fight or a hard fight.
Well, right now, Figueroa making it a little more difficult. Once you step into the ring, it is mostly instinct. At that point, it is no longer thinking. You can do most of your thinking beforehand, setting up your gameplay. Of course, you make variations, the fight goes along. But as you say, you've got to take advantage of the situation as it exists.
You have to read it. And part of that is instinct, being able to read it, be calm enough to see it, and take advantage of it and act on it. It's not just having talent. Talent has to be used. If you don't have the qualities to use the talent, which is being calm, which is mentally being clear, which is having good instincts, the talent doesn't mean much alone. It has to be used.
Much of the tentativeness seems to have left Figueroa as this first round begins to wind down. First round of a 4-rounder. New York City. Friday night at the fights here on Sporstchannel, and some good action right there. Look at that back. I thought the U.S. Tennis Open ended last week. I saw some shots like that at the Open. Figueroa, a little bit of a trick move there.
You know, you mentioned a good point. By the end of the round, Figueroa was a little less tentative. Part of the blame of that was Lopez. Lopez allowed him to fight a pace. In the condition he was mentally, being confused, he didn't take advantage of it. He allowed him to fight a slow pace. He didn't step it up, and he allowed him to get out of that round with confidence. Now Figueroa is going to be a better fighter. That southpaw, fighting with southpaw, is probably past now. If he jumped on him, if Lopez had taken advantage when he was indecisive, he might have put him into a negative mode, and it would have followed throughout the fight. He didn't do that, and now he's a little bit more sure of himself, Figueroa.
But the complexion has certainly changed in the last couple of minutes. From a tentative fighter, we see Figueroa on the right with a great deal more confidence.
But now we see, you're right, but Lopez is doing what he should have done the first round. He's taking charge. He's going out there, he's moving his hands, and he's taking charge when he's supposed to. He backed him up in spots, and now he's looking to counter him. He's mixing it up. Lopez adjusts fairly well. When it's time to press, he'll press. And then when Figueroa starts wading in, you'll see Lopez step back off the jab and look to counter him with something coming in. He adjusts to the situations fairly well.
Good left.
Yeah, he countered there.
Came in and he caught one himself, though, coming back. You want to throw that wild left, you leave yourself completely exposed, and that's what happened to Figueroa. And he may be hurt right here, Eddie.
He was hurt, and he's blinking his eyes. He's doing something you're not supposed to do in the ring. He's showing his opponent that he was bothered by that punch, which would allow his opponent to step it up then.
And he comes back quickly with some good lefts and rights and some good work to the body.
Let's see if he keeps it up or if that was just a little bit of desperation.
Lands a good left right below the chin. Takes a couple of rights. Good jabs.
He does a fair job at blocking. He covers up when he sees that the punches are coming. He doesn't get caught too clean. When he leaves himself open is when he's throwing punches, reaching in. Then he's most vulnerable. But when he sees the guy throwing like now, he covers up. He sees the punches, he's got time to cover up. Actually, he's vulnerable when he's on offense because he throws a lot of wide punches. And Lopez should be looking to counter.
Second round now history. Second round of a scheduled 4-rounder. Philip Lopez against Joseph Figueroa. A couple of inexperienced fighters. Figueroa had only 10 amateur fights.
Yeah, Figueroa is very green.
We look at Lopez in his corner. One coming back behind the head. And here's where Figueroa goes on the attack after taking what was a good right hand.
Most of it missed. Only one punch landed, a left hook early in exchange. The rest, Lopez did a good job at riding with and slipping with.
Third round, scheduled 4-rounder. Lopez facing you, Figueroa, now on the right, now with his back to you. And Lopez comes out flaying away.
Lopez has some swelling over the right eye, which shows you that he's been susceptible to left hands, left hook in this case, because there's not too many jabs coming from Figueroa.
Third round of a scheduled 4-rounder. Size differential, Figueroa 3 inches shorter than Lopez. Neither man will jump center in the NBA. Lopez 5'6", Figueroa 5'3".
Lopez has to take advantage of these misses by Figueroa. He's doing the hard part in spots. It makes Figueroa, being a shorter man, reach in, which you want to do like there, but he's not countering. He's just defensive. He's only doing half the job. You make him miss, you got to make him pay. The reason I say he's doing the hard part is that's instructional. That's something that has to be taught. You can take a kid off the street and tell him to throw punches. But the hard part is to teach him to make a miss. He's doing the hard part. He's not doing, as we say, the fun part, throwing him back. He should take advantage of this situation. When Figueroa covers up like that, instead of going to the arms, he should go around the elbows to the body. That's where the opening is. So he's going to the head.
And when Figueroa seems to crowd him, Lopez doesn't have the tendency to step back and deliver. He continues to stay inside, and he can't free himself.
He smothers himself. He smothers himself. He should be banging around the elbows. There, like there.
Figueroa comes on the attack now.
Because he didn't take charge. He allowed Figueroa to come back with something. Because he should have taken more charge there. There he's banging the right place now. That's going to change it around a little if he keeps that up. There it is, around the elbows. And then he can switch up. This is a good fight. It's a good competitive fight.
Figueroa showing a lot of heart. Just when he seems to be in the most trouble, he flays away and lands some telling blows.
Boy, it's a good fight. This is where he's got to concentrate on the body.
Trouble.
Oh,
Figueroa rocks him with a left. Lopez is smiling, but he got rocked right there.
He's fighting like a real fight. He came right back. He didn't let it affect him, even though he was hurt. Good fight.
That smile he had on his face, Teddy, was not one so much of confidence, but more of a psychological attempt, because he got hurt.
He didn't want to show his opponent that he was hurt.
And it happened when he got in trouble right here in the corner. Here comes Figueroa back. And this is what started it all around as Lopez pulled away.
He broke one of the cardinal rules. Don't step straight back from your man after an exchange. He stepped straight back and he got nailed a long punch. Not a great punch, but it was effective because he stepped back into the range of it. If he stayed close, that punch would have went around his neck.
Well, a lot of good flurries in this round by both fighters. Right here in the corner, Lopez on the attack, and it will change around real quickly. Fourth round, final round. What has turned out to be a good one.
Very good fight. You know what? Figueroa came up with the cure for fighting the southpaw. He forgot all about it.
Left hand by Figueroa, follows with a right, another left. Another right.
He's not thinking about southpaw now. He's doing the right thing. He's just fighting. He's just fighting. And the southpaw no longer means anything. Part of the advantage the southpaw has is when you worry about it, you're tentative and you try to figure the guy out too much. Figueroa has done away with that. He's just fighting him now.
And he has turned the complexion of this fight around. Going to be a very, very tough fight to call. The first two rounds appear to belong to Lopez. Not so the second two. At least not so much so in this fourth round. Third round looked like it went to Figueroa. And here in the fourth round, the early edge has to go to him.
Lopez tried to touch gloves for a borderline punch, and Figueroa said no. He didn't. He wanted to act like a fighter there. He didn't want to psychologically act like he was giving in at all, or he was making a truce. He did that for a reason. He did that as a fighter, to hopefully intimidate him a little bit.
You just have to wonder when in this round will come the Figueroa flurry. But it's going to happen.
He better not wait too long, because he's allowing Lopez to steal the round so far.
Figueroa had that early flurry. Since then, he's been taking a long breath.
What's interesting in this fight is Lopez has the prettiest style, probably the better tools and technique, more experience, yet it's being overcome, it's being negated to some point just by Figueroa's will and by his awkward style. He's using something that can be a detriment to an advantage. He's fighting a conventional stand-up guy, throwing awkward, unorthodox punches that aren't in the textbook, and he's being effective with it.
Trying to get that flurry together, and Lopez doing the smart thing, backing away. This final round winds down.
Lopez would be more effective with a guy who's a little bit more conventional.
Landed a good left there, and another left.
Now what you have to judge is it enough to steal the round?
And that is it. A good one indeed, Philip Lopez and Joseph Figueroa. Battle it out for 4 very good rounds. This is one of these fights you don't want to be the judge. Tough one to call.
You know what's interesting, Spencer? This is a test. If they truly judge it consistently, like a pro fight, or a little bit like an amateur fight. In my opinion, a pro fight, what makes the scoring different in a pro than the amateurs, it's not the amount of punches, it's the amount of clean, effective punches. And here, if you go by that, Figueroa landed the more effective, harder punches, while Lopez probably boxed the prettier fight.
Lopez, perhaps the better boxer, but Figueroa, just a little whirling dervish flying around the ring and landing lefts and rights.
He showed right there that his unorthodox punches, the free swinging style, even though a trainer probably has fits with it, was effective in this case because he had a guy, Lopez, who was a conventional, deliberate guy, standing straight up, and it was effective. Even though it's against the rules of the book, it was effective in this case. That's what makes boxing so interesting.
Well, this is going to be an interesting decision, and Ed Darian will give it to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I announce the decision for the fans here in-house, come on, let's hear it one more time. And the scoring by points as follows. Judges Steve Weisfeld and George DeGabriel each score 39-37, while Judge Harold Letterman, he observed 39-38 for the winner by unanimous decision, Phil Lopez.
You can see the look of disappointment on Figueroa's face. Lopez comes away with a very hard-earned decision. Unanimous, but close. One of the rounds at least went to Figueroa.
What had to hurt Figueroa in this fight in the judge's eyes was his inconsistency. When he was throwing in spots, it was very effective, but there were times where there would be a minute and a half, 2 minutes where he wasn't doing anything. He waited for 30-second spot to do that, and you can't win 4 rounds that way.
Figueroa flurries didn't last long enough, and the victory goes to 26-year-old Philip Lopez of Brooklyn, a unanimous decision. City ready for our main event. A pair of welterweights, Larry Barnes and David Taylor, set to go at it. And Teddy Atlas, what can we expect from this fight?
It's a good matchup. You have on one end of it, you have Barnes, who's very aggressive, Mike Tyson sort of a style without the power, always coming at you, tenacious, and Taylor's a cutie. Real smart, very experienced, not a puncher. I think it's a very competitive fight.
Let us take a closer look at both fighters, starting with Larry Barnes, who comes from this fight with a record of 20-1. He's 25 years of age. He hails from Yonkers, New York. What can he do? What can he not do? Let's get what we like to call the Atlas analysis.
One of the strengths of Larry Barnes is his defensive ability, his ability to slip punches and elude punches, as he is here. Again, he's slipping that jab a la Mike Tyson. When you make a person miss, as Larry Barnes does, what it automatically does is create offensive openings, where you can fill the spots like here with the right hand and left hook. Again, here you can see him slip the jab and create the opening for the big left hook. One of his weaknesses is he tends to throw punches from too far away sometimes, therefore creating countering opportunities for his opponent. Also a weakness is he'll throw punches too wide when he's in close, leading himself to be very inaccurate sometimes. If you're going to throw your left hook a lot, you better keep your right hand up. Here he drops it and gets countered with a big left hook. These are his weaknesses.
And Barnes' opponent is David Taylor, 31 years of age, from Atlanta, Georgia. A deceiving record of 20-15-2, because he has fought some good ones. More on David Taylor with the Atlas analysis. Here's Teddy.
One of David Taylor's strengths is his experience. He knows when to throw those punches, and he times them perfectly. Here you can see him timing the right hand over that jab. Another one of his strengths is defensively, he blocks punches well. He doesn't leave himself that easy to hit. Here you can see him blocking a barrage of punches and riding with them. One of his weaknesses is sometimes he tends to pull straight back, leaving himself susceptible to long punches because he's still in the path of the punch. Another weakness defensively is he'll stand straight up in front of his opponent sometimes, instead of bending, and therefore leave himself susceptible to big punches.
So there are the two combatants. As for the tail of the tape, many things are very similar. Height-wise, weight-wise, but a big difference, and it could be a factor in this fight. David Taylor with a 7-inch reach advantage. Let's go up to the ring, get the introduction of the fighters from Ed Derrick.
From the brand new Ramada Inn here in the Big Apple of New York City, this is the main event of the evening and is being promoted by Kerry Alex and Ron Scott Stevens of the legendary Stillman's Gym, and is approved by the New York State Athletic Commission, the Honorable Randy Gordon, Chairman. The Chief Physician in attendance at ringside this evening is Dr. Barry Jordan, along with his two fine colleagues, Dr. Rufus Sadler and Dr. Daniel Hamner. The judges, Harold Letterman, Steve Weisfeld, and Johnny Colon. Counting for the knockdown seconds, alternate referee Samuel Viruet. The timekeeper to bell is Cecilio Tito Pedraja. In the ring at this time, the man in charge of the scheduled 10-round welterweight bout, referee Arthur Mercanti Jr. And now, my good friends, introducing the principals. First in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with the gold trim. He tipped in at an even 146 pounds. Now, this young gentleman has 20 wins, 15 losses, 2 draws, with 10 knockouts. All the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome aboard Dynamite David Taylor. Taylor and his opponent in the red corner, wearing the solid black trunks. Now he weighed in at 145 1/2 pounds. Professionally, he has 20 wins, 1 loss with 10 knockouts. From Mount Vernon, New York, ladies and gentlemen, here is Larry Barnes. Barnes.
Good evening, Larry. Good evening, Davey. You both received your instructions early in the dressing room. I will expect you to obey these rules. Let's have a nice, clean fight. Touch gloves. Good luck to the both of you.
Arthur McConty Jr. Pretty good bloodlines there. His dad, one of the greatest of all time. And this young man making a very, very solid niche for himself at a very young age. So on the left, in the black trunks, it is Larry Barnes. David Taylor in the white trunks on the right.
Look for Barnes to usually start fast. He's a real copy of a Mike Tyson. Fights a lot like him, right down to the attire. Comes in with no socks, black shoes, no robe. Slips punches like him.
Can't punch like him.
No, that's the one thing and the main thing that's missing. He is not a puncher.
That is a big thing.
Very important.
And right here, the more experienced David Taylor goes to work right at the outset. So we said Taylor's record deceiving, 20 and 15, but he's fought some pretty good ones. Beaten by a future world champion, Terry Marsh. He went the distance with Obakar, a pretty good prospect.
Obakar is a very good prospect from the Kronk Gym, 20-0 now. And he went the distance, was fairly competitive in that fight. He also went the distance with Charles Murray, who at the time was undefeated, a very good fighter. Like you said, his record is not indicative. He's been in there with real good fighters, sometimes on quick notice. He's an experienced guy. He's very slick, very smart, hard to get out of there. But like Barnes, not a big puncher. Just very smart, very experienced.
And one of the questions has to be his weight, because actually a junior welterweight, could the extra weight hurt him right here?
Like you said, he's not a natural welterweight. He is giving up, theoretically, strength to Barnes. He's always campaigned at junior welterweight. I don't think it's going to make a big difference here because Barnes is not a puncher. If Barnes was a puncher, the weight would make a difference. Being that he's not a strong guy, a big banger, and Taylor is very smart and very tricky, I don't think the lack of the difference of weight is going to make a big difference here.
First round, scheduled 10-rounder. Barnes in the black trunks, 25 years of age. He's been beaten only once in his career. Lost a 10-rounder to the former junior welterweight champion, Saul Mambe.
Who, like Taylor, is a very experienced guy. So it's very important for him to be able to be impressive here and to show, because I believe this is a step up in caliber of opponent for Barnes. Even though the guy, like we said, does not have a great record, he's a guy that's definitely better than a lot of the guys Barnes has fought in the past.
Final stages of this first round, and through this first round, Barnes showing very much that he is not just a man who has stepped into the ring to help pad Larry Barnes' record. This could be a tough, tough night for Larry Barnes. First round winding back. We'll get back with more Friday night at the Fights. Second round underway of this scheduled 10-rounder. New York State rules 10-point must scoring system. 10 points must go to the winner of the round.
What we
9 and down from that point on to the loser of the round. You'd call that a 10-9 round, definitely, and you judge it in favor of Larry Barnes.
He did a little bit more. He kept. He was the guy who was more aggressive. He controlled the ring generalship. He controlled the pace of the fight. It was a very close round. You had to give it to him. He was just a little more busy. Barnes, with his style being aggressive, tenacious, fights like a puncher, of course is not a puncher. Usually that is something that can hurt him in his career. A guy that's always pressing forward, always on top of you, usually needs a little pop to be able to slow the other guy down. If you're gonna go in the den of lions, you better have teeth.
The real good ones can get real close to you, and from 16 inches away, knock you for a loop. He gets in real tight. Hasn't been working at the body that much in the early going here, going up high.
It's a funny thing that I find looking at Bonds. Bonds inherited the style of Tyson. You can see that he fights a lot like Tyson, but without the power, and he's also inherited some of his faults. A lot of times he'll look for one punch at a time, and the recent Tyson is a Tyson that doesn't go to the body as much as he used to. And Bonds does the same thing. Being aggressive, but being the kind of guy that's going to win a lot of fights by wearing you down, it's important that Bonds should go to the body more than he does. Sometimes he neglects the body a little bit, and for that style, it's not good.
Landed a pretty good left hand. That one a little bit low with the left.
Here with a guy like Taylor, he should be banging that body. Taylor's
pretty good at fighting right there by Barnes. Misses the uppercut.
Barnes in control of the round, but he's not landing anything real effective. Taylor's almost fighting a fight like he's waiting till a few rounds go by, and then he's going to look to sneak in shots off of maybe Barnes' mistakes. He's fighting like a real experienced guy, not letting it all hang out early. I know I have 10 rounds. That looks to be his attitude. And looking to take what Barnes gives him. He's looking to see what he can take. There he looked to counter inside with an uppercut.
He's a very difficult man to hit, too. I mean, Barnes has connected a few times, but nothing really serious through these first 2 rounds. Barnes' inability to cause much damage with the punches. His legs really aren't in a position to help him much, are they?
Well, right now you can see he's right there. He gets square. When you get square with your legs, it's hard to generate power. You have nowhere to come from. And that can be one of the reasons, the technical reasons, why he doesn't generate a lot of power. The old timers used to say punches are born, not made. But you can improve power by proper technique. That's a good shot there. He got too square with his feet. And the funny thing about it is Tyson does that often.
Yeah, but
he does the same. But Tyson was born a puncher. That's the difference.
He can hit home runs with his back feet, with his feet back, and he has done a lot of damage.
And Tyson makes up sometimes for his poor footing by getting everything into his punch with real tremendous shoulder snap and hip placement. He really gets leverage that way. Barnes doesn't seem to be able to get that. Without the proper leg form, he's really at a loss as far as power. But he's a guy that's steadily attacking, throwing a lot of punches, which he's out punching Taylor, but Taylor's not allowing too much to get in clean.
Well, Taylor is trying to negate the offense by sticking more jabs in the early going here in the 3rd round.
And he's fighting almost the conventional way that a guy that constantly plotting in, constantly forcing the fight, and a guy who's slick and smart should fight. It's a perfect matchup. Taylor's trying to box the right way. He's trying when he can to stay outside and use his jab, keep Barnes at a distance, and try to counter him coming in. As you can see now, he's trying to keep at a range where Barnes can't quite hit him, yet he can catch Barnes. And Barnes' job, of course, is to close that distance, slip the first punch, and get into range. Taylor has the right idea, though. He's going to lose rounds in this kind of fight, though, because he's just not up with the amount of punches as Barnes.
Well, Barnes just keeps stalking, lands a nice left to the midsection, counters with another right, comes back with a left.
He should continue going to the body, because with a slick guy like Taylor, you're not going to catch him the way you want in the head. So you should bang to the body. And you should bang to the body early so it pays dividends for you.
Well, he didn't do it in the first 2 rounds, though, basically, as we pointed out. But he's doing it more here in this 3rd round.
He's doing it now, and it's early enough now to pay off for him as the rounds go by. If he waits till late and does it, the guy can get out of there without being effective. But it's going to pay off for him if he keeps it up now, round after round. one thing that Barnes has to watch is when he does come in, sometimes he doesn't come in behind the jab. And what that can do is the other guy's not defensive then, and can possibly, Taylor can look to nail him and time him with shots coming in because he doesn't have a jab in his face. He's working nice. Yeah, and he's rotating to both sides, which is nice to see. He's not satisfied with just the left hook to the body. He's rotating his shoulders right over so the right hand follows. Nice left hook to the body, right behind the rib cage, right behind the elbow. He found the opening. He's doing what you should do. His corner must have instructed him. This is a slick guy, bang to the body, don't go just to the head. He's following the plan. He's doing by the book what you should do with an experienced, fairly smart guy.
Just to correct that a second, what I meant to say, it has gone to Barnes through the first 3 rounds.
Definitely. All 10-9 rounds.
10-9 rounds through the first 3.
You can't give it to Taylor. He's just not moving his hands enough. But this is about where you would expect an experienced guy to step it up. Right about now.
He's got to.
He has to, and he would. Being an experienced guy, sometimes they can give away the early rounds, looking to feel the guy out a little bit.
David Taylor's 31 years of age. He's in the white trunks. Larry Barnes, 25.
What you have to fear about a guy like Taylor, who does have ability, is better than his record, is that by losing and by being in there with fights where he just comes up short, that it suddenly he starts to get a loser's mentality. And he's almost fighting that way right now. It's still early, but he's almost fighting where he's satisfied to survive, satisfied to pick his spots, and not fighting like a tenacious, like a winner, like Barnes is. That's the advantage Barnes has.
Winning's a state of mind in so many sports, particularly this sport, sports like football also. When you believe you can, oftentimes you can. And as you point out, Barnes is fighting like a winner, whereby Taylor is on the defensive. And as you say, he's lost a lot of close decisions during his career. And at that point, mentally and psychologically, you're going to think you're not going to win.
It tells on you, and it starts to affect your way of thinking and your performance in the ring. It was a good left hook by Taylor to the body by Barnes, by Taylor to Barnes. But he's got to do more of it. Because right now, Barnes is in sync. He's in a rhythm, a positive rhythm. And Taylor has to do something to take him out of that. And one punch will not do it.
Fourth round of a scheduled 10-rounder. And while Taylor stepped it up a bit at the beginning of this round, this fourth round not much different than the first 3.
No, they're it's almost like the style of Barnes. Barnes is fairly consistent, always the same way, in front of you, slipping, looking to score, where you can rely on what he's going to do. And the rounds have gone that way, all the same way. They've fallen into place.
First 4 rounds, and Taylor has taken the brunt of the punishment. But Barnes has been the man of the hour. Watch the left hook come right now. First to the body, and then doubles up with it right to the head.
And that was almost a Mike Tyson combination. It's a Larry Barnes combination, but Tyson made it familiar. He didn't throw a hook to the head, he threw an uppercut. He threw the left hook to the body and then switched with an uppercut. And that's where the opening was. The opening wasn't for the hook because the glove was there. Good selection of punches.
5th round, scheduled 10-rounder. Welterweights, Larry Barnes in the black trunks, a record of 20-1 against David Taylor, who's 20-15 with 2 draws. We see Taylor once again trying to step it up, and Barnes just counters back and changes the complexion around. You know, as you point out, Barnes doesn't have the great punch, but he seems to be stronger than Taylor.
Well, partly he is a true welterweight, where Taylor, like we mentioned earlier, is stepping up. but he seems to be mentally more sure of himself because he's the winner. And I think that relates into strength because he's being aggressive. He's fighting like a strong guy. Taylor may prove to be very comparable with strength, but he's not applying himself in a fashion that you find out. He's like following the line. He's like allowing Bonds to tell him what to do. He's allowing Bonds to dictate the pace and to control him to an extent. Taylor, of course, falling behind in this fight where I've got him losing the first 4 rounds, is lacking one luxury. He doesn't have the power, just like Bonds, to all of a sudden catch up. He's not a big banger. He's a slick, good boxer that has to rely on combinations. He's not a guy that suddenly can erase 4 rounds with one punch.
Barnes beginning to step it up here. An aspect of this fight that we haven't mentioned, that gentleman on the right of your screen who just steps out now, Arthur McCounty Jr. does what good referees should do. He doesn't interfere. He watches, and only becomes involved when it is absolutely necessary. He knows he's not the show, and that's why he's an up-and-comer and potentially a great one like his pop.
He controls the action at the right distance and controls his ego, like we said earlier. He is a good referee, and he knows what he's doing in there. Taylor is countering. Some of it's going out unnoticed because Bonds' ratio of punches is so overwhelming. Taylor's looking to counter off his mistakes, off Bonds' mistakes inside. Right there, it's like he's looking for one spot where maybe Bonds would throw too wide and he'll sneak in a short right hand or something short to catch him. When you can do that, you don't have to be a big puncher. If you time the guy right and you catch him a punch you don't see, you can affect him without power.
In the corner of David Taylor, Abdullah Muhammad is manager, Leroy Swain the second. Show put together by the folks from Stillman's Gym, Ron Scott Stevens. They put together a good program for us tonight.
Yeah, they did a good job. Ron Stevens does a good job on this level of matching comparable opponents. Especially in those 4-round fights, you saw very competitive fights. Good matches.
6th round of a schedule. 10-rounder. Between Larry Barnes in the black trunks and David Taylor in the white. And thus far it has been all Barnes looking for his 21st victory against only one defeat. Good left hook right there.
Barnes finds that hook often. He slips, creates the opening by slipping the jab. The guy's still standing there. Taylor does stand there straight sometimes. And Barnes can find that punch quite often. But the problem is he's satisfied with the one. You should think about putting a right hand with it. If you can hit him with the one punch, there's no reason why you can't catch him with 2. Therefore, he'd be a lot more effective. He's smart, though, to keep banging that body. He doesn't let too long go by each round without banging that body. He's been pretty consistent there from the 2nd to 3rd round on. Good fight plan when you're fighting a slick guy. One of the things that Barnes sometimes, that hook he rolled with, it wasn't as clean as it looked. Just missed.
The one earlier in the round was a much more telling blow delivered by Barnes, who now continues on the offensive.
One thing that Taylor does not take advantage of in a floor in Barnes is when Barnes comes in, sometimes he comes in winging. He doesn't come in with that jab. So Taylor has a chance, a few-inch chance, couple inches before he gets into range where he can beat him to a punch. Because the jab's not coming, he's not defensive. But instead he's going defensive. He's allowing Barnes to get in and not pay for throwing from too far away. And that could be mentally that he's just gotten to the point where he doesn't look for the openings like he might have at an early point in his career if he was winning.
Barnes is beginning to pour it on here. And Taylor, while he has been defensive through most of the fight, even more so here in the 6th round, as the blows are beginning to mount up.
And Barnes feels it.
And as he feels it, he's getting a flow. He's getting a jolt of adrenaline, and he's going with it. He feels his instincts tell him that the guy may be slowing down a little bit. He's picking it up. He's doing what he should do. He's not allowing the guy to get himself together. He's keeping consistent with the pace. And he's staying to that body. The way he's throwing those right hands to the body, I'm looking for him somewhere to switch up top to the head. Trying to get the hands to drop and then sneak something up top. Getting the guy to think only body.
Now, this is a kind of round. Randy Gordon, the New York State Athletic Commissioner, is the round end, where you might think of, despite the fact that there was no knockdown, the traditional 10-9 might not hold.
Yeah, you're right, because he is going in that direction, Randy, as you said. And when one round is so one-sided, where the other guy doesn't offer much offense, and the other guy controls it offensively all the way through, and it's one-sided, you can give some thought to a 10-8 round, even with the absence of the knockdown.
That's a round that potentially could be a 10-8.
I don't think it quite was, because there wasn't quite enough physical damage done. But it's a round where if it continued that way, if there was a little more damage done, you could think of a 10-8 round without the knockdown.
So Barnes, that only defeat coming against the former champ, Saul Mambe. And right here, looking to improve his record to 20-1. As we get ready for the 7th round on Teddy Atlas' unofficial score sheet, it has been all Barnes. He has won every round by a 10-9 count.
There were a couple rounds that were close, but only a couple. I think it's pretty, if it's not a shutout, it's very close to being a shutout. See there, the left hook from too far away? Now, he paid no price for that. Taylor has the equipment, has the experience. He's shown me that in the past to have countered that and beaten that with a straight right hand, which is the answer for that. But he didn't do it. Shows me he's thinking defense. He's not thinking about winning. That's what happens when you go in as an opponent. He's fought in Europe a lot of times as an opponent. He's gone over to the other guy's hometown, and he knows why he went over there. Sometimes you get into a habit of sort of following a pattern of knowing when you're not supposed to win.
And right here, he is in the hometown, so to speak, of Larry Barnes. We're in New York City. Mount Vernon, of course, just a stone's throw away in Westchester County. While Taylor hails from Atlanta, Georgia. The continuing pursuit of Barnes, it's just so frustrating, and it just wears on you.
Yeah, he's relentless. One thing that Taylor's doing better now is he's not getting trapped on the ropes. He's trying to stay in a part of the ring where he can always have distance to step out, get his punches off, and make Barnes reach in. Not where Barnes can easily close the gap like there. See, he's not staying there. He's trying to move off and get his jab working again. He wasn't doing that earlier.
But all he's doing is moving away. He's not throwing any punches.
Actually, it's a little late now for a boxing plan, for a guy without power. It's just a little late for him to catch up. He's got to do something a lot more significant than just out-jabbing the guy and staying off the rope. Unless he had started doing this early and was able to do it round after round. But he fell too far behind. He can't win this way now.
Barnes, who attended Mount Vernon High School, and the school that traditionally has developed some great basketball players, the McRae brothers, the Gus and Ray Williams. And he still works at the high school as a swimming coach.
Taylor's surviving here. He's just looking to survive. Anything he throws back is just to survive.
That's what it is at this point. Last 2 rounds, he has virtually not thrown any punches at all. And he's just stood there and played defense against Larry Barnes' relentless pursuit and attack. very, very difficult. And as you said, it's getting too late. It is too late at this point to come up with an attack. As you mentioned earlier in the fight, oftentimes you get the experienced fighter in the early going. He'll be setting things up, biding his time, getting ready to launch an attack. But right here, it seems to have passed him by. And as we take a look at his career over his last 10 bouts, a lot seems to have passed him by in the professional boxing world.
And when you formed a record which is indicative of an opponent, the funny thing happens. You don't have the incentive to fight with fire anymore because it doesn't mean anything different. You're still going to be an opponent next week or next month when you fight again. It's not like a Larry Bonds who has the incentive to keep a record intact so he can get a big fight. You just don't have that thing to spur you on.
It's the only sport in which the term an opponent has a negative context to it. You are an opponent. You're an opponent in basketball, baseball, football, hockey. Well, you're the opposition. You're an opponent in boxing. You are what David Taylor is. Coming to somebody else's hometown. And he will usually walk away with the victory. And like as you say, even if he wins this fight, a month from now, 2 months from now, he becomes an opponent again.
What's interesting is that he doesn't have the incentive really to win, but he has the incentive to survive, because if he stops, the commission will step in and make sure that he does not fight for at least 90 days. And he can't continue being an opponent. He can't make his next payday a month later. So he has incentive to survive, but not to win, because a win doesn't change his life as much as it would early in his career.
Eighth round of a scheduled 10-rounder, and Barnes continues on the offense.
He's throwing wide punches from a little far away. What that does is it causes him to be inaccurate. Taylor's smart, he makes a miss. But part of it is Barnes makes it easy, because when you throw that wide, you give your opponent a chance to see it coming. It's hard to be very accurate when you're throwing wide shots. But Taylor is not taking advantage of the wide shots where he could counter in between. There he countered with a right hand, but it was as he was stepping out. Sort of a token punch, not with real meaning. He didn't step into it. Usually we'd be saying he needs to use his jab. At this point, Taylor that is, it doesn't matter. The jab is not going to win the fight for him. He needs to stay in there and probably look to nail Barnes like that. Nail him in the middle of throwing a wide punch. That's his only chance, to catch him with a blind punch while Barnes is maybe throwing one of those wide left hooks.
Been unable to come close even up until this point.
The plan of jabbing a guy coming in is good in theory, but at this point, with him so far behind, that's not going to, like I said, it's not going to make a change in this fight. He needs to try now to nail Barnes in the middle of one of those wide shots. He's not doing that. He's surviving. When he throws back, he's throwing back to keep the guy off so he can survive another round. Not to win the round, not to really do damage. Big difference.
So the 8th round now history, and once again, I think you'd have to score that at 10-9 for Larry Barnes. Well, at least on your unofficial scorecard, Barnes pitched a shutout.
Definitely he's pitched a shutout. Only way I feel Taylor can win the fight is by a knockout, and that's not very likely for two reasons. One, he's not a big puncher, and two, he's just not throwing the punches to get that result.
End this good performance, baby. Put pressure, put pressure.
Ladies and gentlemen, put them on. Attention, everything works out.
Alvino Dragon is the manager, speaking with Larry Barnes.
And he's telling him what's right at this point. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the pressure on. Don't let up because you're way ahead. Just keep it up, which is right, because if he lets up, he gives the guy a chance to start doing some type of distance, to start throwing punches. And up to this point, part of the reason why he can't do anything, Taylor, is the pressure. So don't change it now. Don't go into the defensive mode because you're way ahead. Keep doing what's working for you. Because the reason you're ahead and the other guy hasn't been effective has been because of the pressure. A lot of guys might tell their man, okay, coast home now. But with this kind of style, with Bonds, that would be wrong because you take away what he's doing well and you take away one of his strengths, which is to apply pressure and keep guys defensive. You wouldn't want to tell Bonds, coast, we got the fight won, just don't get caught, just stay there. You want to tell him to be tight defensively, be careful, but still do what you do, which is to slip punches and apply pressure and try to counter.
You might be able to see it at home. You talk about the work ethic and the conditioning that goes into this. As you take a look at Barnes, there are times you can actually see just fountains of sweat just dripping off his body, dripping down from his trunks.
One sign that is he's very well hydrated. He drank plenty of liquids probably today after the weigh-in to make sure he had plenty of fluids to burn off, which is very important for an athlete.
Remember years ago they used to tell you just take it in your mouth and spit it out, right?
Well, the old
theory doesn't hold water anymore, so to speak.
No, the old days they said things because it was passed on to them, not because it was based on fact or medical facts. And a lot of it was just passed on by old trainers where the young trainers continue passing it on, not asking questions of why. But we found now in the later years that obviously athletes have to hydrate their muscles, give water back, just like you would put water in a car if the radiator gets dry. So you have something to run on. Otherwise you become weak, you become lethargic, and you have a negative performance.
It certainly can affect you mentally also, not having the proper amount of water in your system.
You feel it, you won't have the confidence. You won't throw the punches where you necessarily might throw the punches.
On the subject of confidence, in the black trunks, Larry Barnes, certainly a very competent performance tonight as he continues to turn it on against David Taylor here in the closing stages of the 9th round.
What Barnes is doing is following him around the ring, allowing Taylor when he wants to get out of trouble and keep in the center of the ring. He's not cutting the ring down, but it doesn't mean much now because Taylor is not taking advantage of it.
Well, 9th round is completed, and while it has not been a factor in this fight, a new innovation in the state of New York and also Pennsylvania is the visual audio counting system. Now, that is there to help a referee as soon as a fighter is taken down in a fight, automatically the count will begin. A lot of times you get the long counts. You can't have the long count with this anymore. This is something that was devised by Floyd Patterson and Scott Rubenstein. It's used in amateur and professional boxing, and basically to accurately measure the number of seconds between the moment a fighter is knocked down and the moment he gets back up. Now, oftentimes, one of the reasons, like Floyd Patterson believes, one of the reasons, long counts, some people say, well, it helps the guy who gets knocked down. In so many cases, it hurts the guy who gets knocked down because instead of him being counted out, he winds up getting up when he really shouldn't have in the first place.
That's right. He's able to sustain more punishment.
Well, we're ready for the 10th and final round between Larry Barnes and David Taylor. Teddy's getting tired of writing 10-9 rounds now, but that's what it has been, a shutout thus far, at least on Teddy Atlas's scorecard.
The way it looks like to me. It's very hard to give a round to a guy who's just not applying himself. He's just not throwing enough level.
Good left hook right there by Larry Barnes.
A little short. It didn't quite land. And he should put either a second left hook behind it, which he could by keeping the punch with a little shorter. He could recoil and snap another one, or put a right hand with it. There he threw 2 punches. It's not going to make a difference tonight, but with more competitive opponents, it will show up. It will make a difference.
Well, where does Barnes go from here?
Well, one thing that's going on is he's rated about number 9 in the USBA, and the champion is Glenwood Brown. Glenwood Brown's getting ready to fight Maurice Blocker for the world welterweight title, the IBF title. So he's going to vacate the USBA, and he's going to have a chance to move up in the USBA ratings and possibly fight somebody in the near future, possibly for a USBA title. Maybe with somebody like a Stephan Johnson, a local kid who fought earlier. That would be a good match. Stephan is rated number 9 in the USBA.
Interesting match. Johnson, of course, with that first-round knockout over Victor Acosta with a stunning left hand.
One thing Bonds has shown is the last time he fought a veteran, Sal Mamby. Mamby a little different because he still tries to win more, but still a veteran guy, and he got the decision over Bonds. I thought Bonds won the fight, but Mamby came away with the decision. He's fighting another experienced guy, and this time he's learned from it. He's making sure that he doesn't give the guy a chance to use his experience. And he's doing the right thing to negate experience. He's keeping pressure. When you're in there with an experienced guy, more experienced than yourself, you want to stay close and press him and not allow him to use his experience. A lot of times in the amateurs, you can see a guy actually beat a better fighter than him, a more experienced fighter, just by keeping pressure and not allowing the experienced guy the distance to use his experience and the time to use his experience.
This one winding down, an impressive victory it's going to be for Larry Barnes.
No doubt about this one.
According to your unofficial scorecard, a shutout, 100-90 in favor of Larry Barnes.
Come on, let's hit it one more time.
Who, unless it'll be one of the more stunning reversals ever thrown up by judges, he will improve his record to 21-1, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. The youngster from Mount Vernon, turned pro in 1988, will improve his record to 21-1, beating a veteran David Taylor, who was 6 years his senior. But again, you didn't see the great punching, but that you don't expect that from him. We saw good boxing instincts and a pretty good. He's a pretty good defensive fighter, also.
He is, and he has to be if you're going to press. What's interesting about that is Ali in the old days broke a lot of the rules defensively. He'd keep his hands down, he would pull back, he would have his chin up in the air. Not good things defensively, but he got away with it because of his talent, and he wasn't an aggressive fighter. He was a counterpuncher, so if you're not leading, it's not as important to keep your hands up and your chin down because you're waiting for the guy's mistakes and leads, and you're not leaving yourself vulnerable, you're not pressing. But if you're going to press like Bonds, you better have your hands up and you better be pretty good defensively. And Bonds is good defensively. Bonds had a good, steady performance tonight. Taylor allowed him to, but that's not Bonds' problem. Bonds' problem is to take care of himself. And he made sure that he did what he was supposed to do tonight. And I saw a little improvement in him.
Let's set the decision for Matt Darian.
The scoring by points as follows. Judge Johnny Colin, he watched the fight at 190. Judge Steve Weisfeld, he scored 99-91. And Judge Harold Letterman, he scored it 98-92. For the winner by unanimous decision, Larry Barnes.
Well, one judge agrees with you, 100-90, and the other two, 99-91, 98-92. So Harold Letterman did give David Taylor 2 rounds. But no doubt at all about the winner. Larry Barnes improves his record to 21-1, and a good effort by the 25-year-old welterweight from Mount Vernon, New York. We'll get back right after this. A unanimous decision, and this young man from Mount Vernon, New York, Larry Barnes, has improved his record to 21-1. You were on the offensive for 10 full rounds. You never, that's got to be very frustrating to the guys you fight.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. You know, David came to box. He boxed very well. You know, he gave me angles. You know, I hurt him a few rounds, and I just kept the pressure on him. I was really trained hard for this fight. And that's all I wanted to do was just keep the pressure and back him up. I would like to finish them, but, you know, in boxing, that's hard to do. You can't knock all your opponents out. So.
Okay, was there ever a point that you felt you had him in that much trouble that you were able to think about a knockout?
Maybe in the 5th and the 7th round. You know, he regained himself, and he got on his bicycle and he boxed. You know, he boxed beautifully. But I kept the pressure on him, and I made sure that I backed him up for 10 rounds.
Teddy?
Larry, I said in the pre-fight assessment, I made a point. I said the last time that you fought a guy with comparable experience of this guy was Sal Mamby, where you wound up losing. I thought you won the fight, but they gave the decision to Mamby. This, I thought, was a challenge to you, that you were fighting another experienced guy like Mamby, and you had to prove yourself. Did you feel that way going into this fight?
Well, you always got to prove yourself in this game. You know, it's never going to be a walkover. They're always tough fights. So I wanted to redeem myself, and it was a very good fight for me.
Okay, well, we're talking right now. You're 21-1, and at this point, where do you look to next? Well, what are you looking for now?
Well, it's up to my manager, AD. You know, he takes care of everything outside, and I take care of everything inside the ring.
Okay, let's talk to Albino for a second.
Well, next, I'm looking for somebody in the top 10, like Curtis Summit. Anybody in the top 10. We're having a hard time getting fights. Nobody wants to fight. Everybody's ducking. I really know that he's undefeated. Everybody knows he beat Sal Mamby. He knows it too. And whoever we could get in the top 10, we're ready for anybody, including the champ of the world, Simon Brown, or Maurice Black, or Glenwood Brown, the winner that.
Well, Teddy has talked about the fact that a title may be vacated, and the possibility. How about a match between this young man and Stephan Johnson, who we saw earlier tonight?
Why not? Anybody, like I said, anybody in the top 10. We spar with lions, not with human beings, so we're ready for anybody.
Teddy?
No, I felt, like I said earlier, I felt that there was an improvement from you. For the guy experienced, and that you improved, that you showed an improvement in this fight. Were you surprised that in his lack of offense coming into this fight? Did you expect him to throw back more? Were you a little bit surprised that you kind of controlled him completely the way you did?
Well, I controlled him with a lot of power punches. You know, I missed a little bit, but he just wanted to stay on the offense and go 10 rounds. You know, and he proved that tonight.
He wanted to survive.
Sure, and I just backed him up with a lot of body shots and a lot of, you know, he had a good jab, but I made him miss a little bit. And I did what I had to do this evening.
Yeah, you definitely did.
On the subject of survival, the fittest survived, and his name is Larry Barnes. Congratulations to you. A record now of 21-1, and good luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sporstchannel, for having me.
Okay, a great effort by Larry Barnes, who improves his record to 21-1 with a unanimous decision over David Taylor. Back right after this. A good night, Teddy. That's Stephan Johnson victory over Victor Acosta. Perhaps not the fact that he won it, but he won it as quickly as he did with that first round knockout.
I have to admit, I was a little bit surprised the way he won it so suddenly. If the guy had come off the 4-year layoff the way he did, and it was his first fight, I wouldn't have been as surprised. But being that he went 10 rounds with Barnes a month ago, to see Stephan take him out so cleanly, I was impressed. He looked good.
Now you saw Avila with a victory. Philip Lopez defeated Joseph Figueroa, unanimous 4-round decision. And our feature bout of the evening, Larry Barnes, with that unanimous 10-round decision over David Taylor. And that